Welcome back to the Ocean Impact Podcast. My name is Amelia Helt and I'll be one of your hosts for today. But as always, I'm joined by my co-host with the most, Tim Silverwood. Tim, how are you doing on this fine spring day?
I'm doing very well. It's strange. We're doing these intros for these podcasts, in spring. But I actually go back and when I was doing the recordings with the podcast guests, it was actually quite a few months ago. So we're going to have all sorts of seasonal changes throughout this series.
Well, sometimes these interviews are happening between continents and countries and oceans and worlds apart. So quite often we're interviewing someone and they're like in snow. So it's quite funny to see not just the time differences, but the crazy weather differences.
Yeah, this one was definitely unique. First time I've had a video call, let alone a podcast with a guest from Tanzania, and you and I were both riffing before that. We grew up with this notion that was called Tanzania, but no, it's Tanzania, and I love that. It rolls off the tongue beautifully.
It does. And now, this is what we love on the Ocean Impact podcast. We get to learn something new. We have got Diana Orembe from NovFeed, the co-founder and CEO, joining us today. And NovFeed was the winner of the Sustainable Harvesting Spotlight Award presented by Auxilium Foundation at the Ocean Impact Pitch Fest last year. And Tim, Diana's a bit of a rock star to me. She's everything I look up to when I think of inspirational women and particularly inspirational female founders. Not only is she a scientist, she's a microbiologist, and not only is she tackling a massive environmental problem, but she's done it with the knowledge that what's good for business is good for people and planet, which is everything we're about here at OIO. Plus, she has a smile that can light up a room, so I do hope people get to check this out on YouTube and actually see the video. All of that, and she's under 30. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, absolute rock star, and she's just so humble, and so appreciative of this alignment with OIO. And she should be very, very proud. I think that the judges were just blown away by the solution and how far progressed they are. Not only are they obviously supporting fisheries with a fish meal replacement to protect and conserve those valuable resources in the ocean so they aren't being pulled out just to go and make fish meal and feed to fish in aquaculture, but also creating fertilizers as well for other parts of the food security challenges. And yeah, absolutely inspirational. I'm sure she is leading a whole new wave of young female oceanpreneurs in her wake. She's a legend.
Love it. And as we've said, she's tuning in from Tanzania today. I would love to travel there. It's actually been on my bucket list for quite a while. And this is a country of diverse natural beauty, but also diverse natural water resources, which range from coastal to inland. It's home to a fisheries sector that plays a really important role in social and economic development. And Diana has a really personal connection to the fisheries industry, doesn't she, Tim?
That's right. And this is so often the case with inspirational founders behind game changing solutions. They've got that personal connection. So, stories that Diana shares throughout the podcast of her mother being a fish vendor and her uncle being involved with the aquaculture industry, and her formative memories being around the lake and everything being around the conversation of how to sustainably manage the lake and the ecosystems as well as growing food. So from those immersive beginnings, off to university to learn those incredible skills and global insights, and then taking it right back to solve a problem that she was probably attached to as a very young person. I just love those stories.
It's so inspiring, isn't it? And, it makes sense when we look at the problem that they're solving. We know that there is a growing population globally, and we will need to sustainably feed 10 billion, that's billion with a B, people by 2050. The World Resources Institute found in a study that aquaculture can play a really important role in both food security and reducing global emissions. So you've got a twofer, which is always fantastic. And they list reducing food loss and waste and improving productivity and environmental performance of aquaculture as two of the ways which we can fill this gap. But a massive problem in aquaculture, and you touched on this, Tim, is the feed, which is usually fish meal sourced from forage fish. So solutions that address this, and as many solutions as possible, are really important. And you enter NovFeed, where they're addressing two problems. So the impact of traditional fish feed and the problem of food waste. And like Alchemy, they turn food waste into fish feed. It's pretty incredible, isn't it, Tim?
It really is, and it's a bit of a no-brainer, right? I mean, the problems surrounding food waste are just hideous. We put so much energy and resources and money into creating food, yet the figures around how much of that ends up going to be wasted is just really quite diabolical. So to be able to adopt a process that can turn food waste into such a valuable commodity that then offsets the perils of traditional fish meal on the ocean, it really is like alchemy. So yeah, congratulations to these guys on their awesome solution.
Yeah, and when we're talking alchemy, there's quite a lot of science that goes behind that alchemy. And Diana has this great analogy for explaining how the process works and some of the science behind it, which I won't spoil because I want you guys to hear it from her directly. But she likens the process to making beer. That's all I'll say, and it's a fantastic analogy. And I love when experts in their field, like Diana, are able to break down these complex concepts for anyone to understand, right? Someone like me can come in and instantly understand how this is all working behind the scenes. And I think it's a masterclass for any oceanpreneurs listening out there in communication. Whether your solution's scientific or it's engineering or technology based, whatever it is, I do think it's such an important skill, and it's something that we really believe strongly in at OIO. So I'd encourage any oceanpreneurs listening to kind of do as Diana does, and try and crack that code, because it's really incredible how she's able to just break down something super complex and make it understandable.
Yeah, so often the case where, maybe that's not your strong suit. You might be fantastic in the lab doing the hard science, and someone tells you how to communicate or market your product. You're like, I got no idea, but that's just a cue to go and talk to someone who's good at that, because, yeah, it really is important, particularly when you're getting out there and building a community or talking to investors who may only have a handful of seconds of your time. And if you can just quickly capture and captivate, then you're on your way.
Yeah, so would you say, Tim, that that's then like quite an important starting point for a startup, when it comes to their pitches and their websites and just communicating their solution, to kind of make that one of the early things as far as their communications go that they get a handle on?
It's so important. I mean, obviously, you've got to have a product or a solution. You got to have something to offer, But at that stage, when you are opening up that door and stepping through, and like I said, building a community or trying to sell your vision to an investor or to a supporter, then yeah, I think it's essential. So yeah, as soon as it's time to step out of the lab, you've got something ready to take to market, then you've really got to invest heavily in how you're going to communicate that.
That's awesome. Such great advice for people listening. And yeah, obviously have a solution first. That goes without saying. um, Look, Tim, as with many solutions, NovFeed, it's not just about the ocean health benefit, the environmental benefit, but a real economic benefit too. So can you run us through, like, what are some of these other benefits and maybe challenges that Diana identified?
It's funny, isn't it? Because you naturally think that there'd be people rushing out to purchase this replacement product, knowing that it has a far lesser environmental impact than the other alternatives out there. But that's not always the case, right? Sometimes people have been using a product derived from a certain resource for a really long time, and word on the street is this is what gets you the greatest results. But yeah, I was fascinated to learn that in the case of tilapia with NovFeed's product, they can actually bring it up to market size 2 months faster than the traditional fish meal source, which is just crazy, right, from efficiency perspective. But like I said, we've seen it a lot, even with startups in Australia like Sea Forest. You think because the product is so good that the market would just gravitate towards it, but it's not always the way like that. So again, that comes back to how good you are with your storytelling, your marketing communications, your sales strategy. And I think one thing that is really important in this instance is when you do have people out there using your product and getting fantastic results, they are your spokespeople. Get them out, take them on a roadshow, let them meet other fish farmers and tell them how good their product is. And you're going to find that they're going to be falling over themselves to try your product.
Yeah, so like customer word of mouth, I feel like for NovFeed has been really important. Get people to try it, and then get them to go talk to other people, their peers. It's a fantastic episode. Diana is just, as we said, a rock star. I'm so looking forward to hearing what everyone thinks. But guys, enjoy, and thank you for listening.
Thanks, everyone. I'm so happy to have on the Ocean Impact podcast today Diana Orembe, who is the CEO and co founder of NovFeed, and tuning in all the way from Tanzania today with your incredible solution addressing a massive problem facing planet Ocean. How are you today, Diana?
Hi, team. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing so well, and I really am so excited to talk to you. We were just saying before we pressed record that your bright smile and your enthusiasm and positivity has been so wonderful to receive at Ocean Impact Organisation, particularly with you not just being a finalist in the Ocean Impact Pitch Fest, but the second runner up overall, and of course, the winner of the Sustainable Ocean Harvesting Spotlight Award. You were very happy about that, weren't you?
Thank you so much, team. It's a pleasure to be doing this podcast with you today.
I'm really excited, and I just can't wait to hear directly from you, because the problem that you are solving is one that is so widespread and so significant, but perhaps a lot of people don't really understand it and certainly don't understand the scale. But the judges in the Ocean Impact Pitch Fest 2023 clearly know the problem, and they were very excited about your solution. So perhaps we can hear directly from you. Could you tell us a little bit about NovFeed, the problem that you're solving, and how you are doing it?
Yeah, thank you so much, Tim, for inviting me to do this podcast with you. And it's my pleasure. And thank you so much for your continuous support to NoFeed, for awarding us with a prize that will support us to continue making more impactful, to continue creating more impactful solution for our ocean and for the fish farmers. Yeah, so getting back to your question, one of our biggest share challenge of the 21st century is to meet the protein demand of the growing global population, but to meet them without increasing significant pressure on our planet ecosystem. And as articulated by the United Nations FAO, aquaculture has a significant potential to feed, as aquaculture is the primary source of the seafood production, has a significant potential to feed the growing global population with a sufficient protein. But the only challenge with the aquaculture is that it is still problematic. As in, for decades now until today, aquaculture has been relying on over 20 million tons of fish, of small fish, to be captured annually and ground up into a protein base that's called fish meal and fish oil, which is mixed up with other ingredients to make a complete feed for the farmed fish. But this actually is very unsustainable because the forage fish play a very important role on our oceans. They feed on the plankton and transfer the energy from the bottom of the food chain to the marine mammals, to the birds and larger fish that feed on them. And if you take these forage fish out of the ocean, if it comes a point that they disappear, so with the life that depends on them. And I don't think if we are all ready for that a total loss. But also, in addition to that, according to the United Nations FAO report, it shows that the global fish production is expected to increase from 179 million tons to 204 million tons by 2030, and about 109 million tons of that production will be coming from the aquaculture industry. And that's a very good news that we all should be very happy about it. But on the other hand, it's a sad news because it simply means we'll need to triple the production of the fish meal and the fish oil in order to catch up with this growing demand of the aquaculture industry. but also this as a result will cause the low genetic diversity in our ocean and distinction of the some of the ocean species. And the alternative that's available to that is fish is soybean meal. But you know what? Soybean meal is already linked with massive deforestation and loss of biodiversity, but still it also doesn't have all the essential amino acid that is required by different species of the aquaculture industry. And on the other hand, waste is still a global problem. Today, one third of all the food that is produced globally end up in the dump site, and it's polluting everything from what we eat, what we drink, and what we breathe. And it's accelerating also the climate change due to the greenhouse gases that is produced by this waste. And that's why don't feed we saw these challenges and we think like it is high time we apply science as a tool to solve these twin challenges. We decided to do. We did a research and found out technology that can we can transform the market agri-waste, such as the rotting vegetables and fruits, all the food that is considered as a waste. And we use bacteria as a cell factory to transform this waste into a bacteria-based protein, which is the perfect replacement of the fish meal and soybean meal in the aquafeed nutrition. Yeah, so we want to change the face of aquaculture with this newly alternative protein.
So awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, like you've identified, solving these twin huge problems of course, the use of forage fish and protein from the ocean in some of those traditional forms of aquaculture, but then also realizing that you could solve the other problem of food waste and all the associated greenhouse gas emissions from rotting and unneeded or wasted food to actually create the proteins for the new generation of fish meals you are creating. So, tell us a little bit more around the science and how you've gone from the laboratory to actually creating products that can be used and purchased by customers. I'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
Thank you so much. I usually say like our process is just simple, just like making yogurt or making fermented beer. When you're making, for example, when you're producing a beer, you will need grain, but also you will need yeast. Yeast are microbes, but for us, we need food waste and we need bacteria cells. So for the beer, yeast will feed on the grains and transform it into a beer. But for us, our bacteria feed on the food waste and grow into a bigger volume of a bacterial biomass. The process is called the fermentation. So basically what we do, we normally collect the market agri waste from different marketplaces around us, and we process this waste to make the nutrients of the waste available to be used as a source of carbon by this bacteria. And we did a research to come up with the bacteria, different bacterial species that has the ability to use the waste as a source of carbon and energy, and they grow up into a bigger volume of the biomass. So, like after processing the waste, we put the waste on the fermenter, and then we add our strains of bacteria. We have a consortium of bacteria that are able to work together in a symbiotic relationship. So they collaborate to degrade this waste, and they produce this valuable product. Uh, that is cost effective, like 25 to 30% cheaper than the fish meal, but it's also sustainable, and it also helps the farmers cut their production costs and increase their profitability. It has a 70% of protein profile and other essential amino acids, which support the growth of the fish and the immunity of the fish, but also help the fish attain the weight, like we call it the market table size before the regular culturing time. So if you feed your fish with the no feed, it will take like 6 to 7 months for harvesting. But if you use the conventional feed, you will need like 9 months before you harvest your fish.
So, you're saying it's 2 months faster to get the fish to market size.
Exactly.
So that sounds to me like such a strong sell. What's it been like taking it to market, and how is the process of convincing an existing fish farmer to adopt this alternative meal, which has efficiency gains and obviously this markedly less impact on the ocean system?
I know, changing the norms has never been easy in any industry. Like, it's been like the farmers, for decades, they have been using the fish meal to produce their feed. But the most pain point for the farmers was the accessibility of this feed, but also the high cost of the feed. For example, in Tanzania, where we are headquartered, fish farmers rely on the feed that is mostly imported from countries like Netherlands, Vietnamese, China. But it's so unfortunate. The imported feed and locally produced feed are made up with the fish meal, which account for over 70% of the fish feed total production cost. So the farmers have been struggling for quite some time with the high cost of the feed and also the inaccessibility, because sometimes due to the high tax barrier, the imported feed becomes very expensive. In addition to the that it's produced by using fish meal, but sometimes it's not inaccessible because of the border issues. It's actually experience the farmers experience a very big problem during the Corona season when most of the borders were closed, and there was no any easy way to transport to import the feed from other countries to our countries. So that's when the farmers almost dump their feed. So when we come up with this new feed, that's not only that it's produced locally, but also it's produced sustainably with a different kind of ingredient. It was hard to change their mind, but because they were already having bigger issues with the problem that they were facing with the feed, it was easy for them to be easily convinced. So we used that chance not only to tell them that we are producing it locally so it will be available throughout the year. We use also that opportunity to educate them that this time it won't be expensive as used to buy it. This time is cheaper. It's cheaper because of the protein that goes into it. But also that was a very big opportunity for us to educate them about the sustainability. Like right now you're using something that makes sense economically and environmentally, because initially you are using a feed produced by using fish meal, which like you're taking the wild fish and you feed it the farmed fish, something that was destructing our oceans and our environment. But also economically it's not something that was making more sense. Now we have something for you, something new, something better, something locally produced, something that will be available off season and during the season, something that will be here 365 days. When you need it, you have it and it's delivered on time. So we really tried our best level to convince the farmers, but we are glad we have been able to enter the market and reach the farmers, and they are happy that the fish also like our feed, and they are also reducing the production cost and now increasing their profitability. At the same time, they're learning the importance of the sustainability and the impact they're making to the environment and our lakes and our oceans. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's
Thank you so
some
much.
serious challenges to overcome. And you obviously identified there some of those opportunities that emerged as a result of closed borders and not being able to get their traditional sources of meal. But yeah, I can understand that actually convincing people to try something brand new, something novel, would be fraught with challenges. So, tell us a little bit about the location where you are. Maybe there's something specific about the industries that exist there. What types of fish are currently consuming your no feed products? And tell us a little bit about the space in the world where you are, which has provided you with this opportunity to get the fish farmers your product as opposed to the other alternatives out there. I'd love the listeners to get a sense of the industry where you are and what's enabled you to get some of that market penetration.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tim. NovFeed is headquartered in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, which is the largest city in Tanzania. We are in Africa, part of the world, and Tanzania is one of the places that uh, have oceans and lakes and we have a lot of oceans and lakes all are in most of the regions with a very high potential to be used for the aquaculture. But it's a place that the government is really emphasizing on the blue economy at the moment. And if you just watch our social media page, currently our president just launched their program that gave free cages to the fish farmers in the lake zone. So, according to the Ministry of the Fisheries, we had more than by for the report of 2022 to 2023, we had more than 22 fish farmers located in different parts of the country. But I think this number is gonna double or triple because of now the way the government is emphasizing more the blue economy and the aquaculture, and uh, this is a place where the farmers have been relying more on the imported feed, as I said, and they have been looking for opportunity to get the alternative, accessible, better quality, and affordable feed. So this is the market that we are currently serving, but we're also looking for a chance to grow beyond Tanzania to reach more external markets. But currently, our feed is only for the tilapia fish and the catfish because these are the highly favored fish by the Tanzania and mostly farmed fish. So those are the fish also we have been able to do on farm trials, but because our protein have showed a very good performance, we look forward into near future where we'll do a trial to other fish species such as shrimp and others in different parts of the world. But also currently Tanzania have a fish deficit of around 580,000 metric tons, which also um, which also is a very good opportunity for us because if the farmers can be able to farm this fish internally in order to fill this gap, it's a very big market for us. We'll be able to sell more feed to the farmers. Yeah.
Fascinating. Yes, I did see on your social media this initiative where the government was providing these fish pens. So, would they be for tilapia in freshwater lakes?
Yes, yes, in freshwater, and it's for tilapia because those are the mostly farmed and it's the mostly favored fish by the Tanzania population. Uh, we don't farm a lot of shrimp or salty water fish. Mostly it's only catfish as well as the tilapia for more than I think 80 to 90%.
Yeah, I think I was also reading, tilapia. I think it is the second largest volume of freshwater farmed fish on the planet. So there is clearly a wonderful market for you, even
Yeah.
just focusing on that species and catfish, like you mentioned as well.
Hmm.
So let's move on to learn a little bit more about you, Diana, because this is so fascinating. And I'm wondering, is this you seeking out an opportunity to build a successful enterprise, or are you more impassioned by mitigating and removing those environmental impacts? What is your motivation here in being an entrepreneur working at this critical juncture of alternatives to fish meal?
Yeah, thank you so much, Tim, for your question. I think there is a way that I am so much connected to fish industry since I was a very little kid, and I believe God was preparing me to come and solve this problem in the future. Because I was born in a very small village in northern Tanzania, which is from my home to the lake, it was like a 5 minute walking distance. And my mother was a fish vendor by then. And we were like in the village, like if your home is very close to the lakes, you just most of the time the food is a fresh fish. That's most of the food. That's the food that we mommy keeps on preparing almost after every 1 or 2 days. And apart from that, it was like after lunch, you just carry the dishes, go wash them in the lake, you shower in the lake, and on the weekends you carry your clothes, go wash them in the lake. So there's a way I was just connected with the lake since I was very little kid. But again, I moved it to my uncle's place, and my uncle was a fish farmer. He was doing a fish farming on the cemented ponds, but most of the time I had my uncle complaining about the high cost of living. And I be like, but you're doing a business. Why are you complaining? Because most business guys have money. And he keeps on saying, like, fish farming business seems luxurious until you step into it. That's when you know it's not a business that a person can rely on. And one of the things that I still remember when I asked my uncle why it looks like that, my uncle mentioned, like, when you're doing fish farming, you're investing so much money into that, but because of the fact that you don't find feed at the right time, and when you find it, it's very expensive. The return on investment is almost equal to zero. So that's why most of the time I don't have money. And growing up, when I was at the university, I was doing my research around the application of microbes as the source of feed and food. And that's when I started connecting so much with what I had my uncle saying a decade ago, when we visited the farmers, and the farmers were having the same complaining. So after finishing the university, I was very much passionate about the entrepreneurship. I felt like I can use the science knowledge that I have to tackle some of the most pressing challenges of the community. And I was one of the very lucky people who had the opportunity to join a World Food Program. They had a program called the WFPX, which was bringing different innovators to come up with a moonshot ideas that will help the growing mega cities have enough food. And that's when I had a chance to turn my science idea into reality to help the farmers. But it was also an opportunity to do more research with the farmers to keep on learning the pressing challenge. And it was so a very and I was so much surprised that that was still a very big challenge to the farmers. We went to the farmers across Dar es Salaam, and most of them, their first challenge was the feed. The second challenge was water quality. And the third most pressing challenge, which was mentioned by most farmers, was access to the high quality fingerling. Because even if you have the best feed, if you don't have the right fingerling, you're still likely to going to get you're still likely not get you will not end up getting a good profit, because you fill your fingerlings with a lot of feeds, but because they're not a very good quality fingerlings, like you'll be getting you'll not be getting enough profit. So that's when I had an opportunity to change my idea into reality. We started developing it from an MVP. We got to doing more research. Where can we find this bacteria? How do we come with the isolate that can transform the food waste and grow into a bigger volume biomass? And how can we feed them? What technology can we use? How can we develop this technology? Who do I need in my team to support me doing this? Because I do not have all the skills to take this business off the ground. That's when I started looking for the founders, to look for the talents, to attract more talent to help me doing this, but also to look for partners, the development partners, to help us take this business off the ground. Yeah.
That's so fascinating. I always love the story of why founders actually go on to solve these problems. And your response is so authentic. Your life experiences growing up, your recognition of the problems that your uncle faced, and then obviously going off to university and being able to then test the opportunities of solutions. You mentioned then other team members around you. Maybe you could share a little bit about other key team members who've helped turn the vision into reality.
Yeah. I really thank God that I met the incredible and most talented co-founders, that were ready to walk with me into this journey. It wasn't an easy journey. It was one of the most challenging journey, but still rewarding because, every time you encounter a challenge and then you are able to solve it, that's when like you feel it makes you feel alive again. Like, okay, this is doable. Then we can do it. We can do it. So I would like to shout out to our co-founder, Mr. Tego Elisha, who has a background in environmental economics and has more of expertise on the biowaste value addition. But also we have Mr. Innocent Limo, who had a background in aquaculture nutrition and was one of the guys that was really working hard to make sure that we are coming up with a very good formulation of the feed. But also, I would like to thank other colleagues, especially the employees that we are working with for being passionate with us and the growth of the company, because sometimes it's not easy, especially when you're doing a research and you're working for something that you don't even know if it will give you a result. But they have been so passionate, they have been so resilient, and they keep on pressing. Sometimes they spend over time working here. Yeah, and our advisors as well. We have been working with our very incredible advisors, Professor Mshandete, Dr. Mahadi, and so many others. So yeah, so I would like to thank everyone.
Yes, it really does take a large community of wonderful people to bring a great idea like this to life. You mentioned as well some of those initiatives where you were supported throughout your journey. I'd love it if you could share a little bit more about the innovation ecosystem in your region of Africa and some of the ways that you've been supported, or just give us a little bit of a sense of what exists to support startups like you
Mhm.
in Tanzania and in Africa more broadly.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, that was a very good question, Tim. Turning a nature-based solution into reality is hard if you don't have those kind of supports. I think we really needed those supports for us to be where we are today, to be able to serve farmers with this new protein. And one of the uh, um, like one of the biggest support we received from my university, the University of Dar es Salaam, and they offered us a laboratory space to turn our idea into reality when we had no any equipment. We were relying on them and the expertise of the doctors, professors, and the lecturers. So I don't know where we could have been without their support, but I don't know where we could have been without the support of funding from different development partners such as uh, Mineral Foundation, Ocean Exchange, Milk and Mott Serpe, SOF at MIT, we have the Ocean Hub Africa. We have uh, we have been supported with the Commission of Science and Technology in Tanzania, Ifakara Hub. We have been supported with so many development partners. It was capital intensive and it required a lot for us to be able to reach this stage. We have also been supported by the World Food Program. They're the one who also supported us very initially when it was still just the idea on a paper. We developed our ideas there. They supported us with the funding. Go do it at the university. We'll support you. We'll turn this idea into reality. So yeah, so I don't know, I could mention a lot of partners. MEDA, yes, Mennonite for Economic and Development Association. There are so many partners that have supported us. And I would like to thank them all. Those that I remember to mention and the ones that I don't remember, just know we truly appreciate them. We truly appreciate their support, the funding, the mentorship, the skills that they provided us with, including yeah, I was forgetting the Chemonics International and Unleashed. Yeah, so many others. And we recently have been also supported with the Ocean Impact Organization. Yeah. So I think if you mention NovFeed, you can't mention NovFeed without mentioning our development partners and our supporters all around the world. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just to everyone to know, I did put Diana on the spot with that particular question there. So I think you recalled a very large number of partners and supporters to an impromptu question. But yeah, I was just fascinated to learn a little bit more about how you and startups like you are being supported in Tanzania and other parts of Africa. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you too.
You've been giving us a bit of a glimpse at some of your major achievements throughout your journey, but this question now is around some of your achievements. So you can mention more if you have any prepared, but also it's a chance to talk about some of the challenges that you've faced in building a startup. So, yeah, maybe a moment from you on some of those successes and achievements, but also some of those challenges you've faced.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tim. And uh, if I have to start with some of the achievements, number one achievement, I think the one that we'll never forget, the discovery of a bacteria cells that can use waste as a source of carbon and energy and grow into a bigger volume of the protein and just to be used to feed the fish and fish feed the human being. So for us, that was one of the huge achievement because bacteria cells are our DNA. We cannot exist without them. They are the one who define our feed. They are the one who define our alternative protein. They are the one who degrade the waste. So that's number one achievement. But another second achievement was market entry, and you just coming up with a nature-based solution and then you're introducing into a already established market and you start looking for your first customer, second customer, third customer. Before you know it, you have more than 10 customers. And that was one of the moments that we celebrated a lot, and it's one of the moments that encouraged us to keep doing what we are doing, because if the customers don't accept it, then there's no way we can exist. But because they accepted it, that's why we still exist. So that's one of biggest achievement. But also third biggest achievement was attracting funding as well as the partnership, not only in Tanzania or Africa, but global partnership. So that was also one of the moments that help us, like cheers us up to keep on moving, because the world recognize what we do, and the world, the people in the community, the people are very supportive. They just want to see you winning. And yeah, so I think those are the most critical achievements that I always count on, and they're the ones that keep us moving. And if I don't forget to say, one is on the reducing the helping the farmers reduce their reliance on the imported feed, but also the reliance on the fish meal. And that was also one of the moments that made us feel so very good. And when you come to the challenges, we experienced a lot of challenges, but I think the most critical challenge was on uh, looking for the enough resources to bring this idea to life, because this is a nature-based solution. It's everything science, and it's very demanding in terms of resources, from the reagents to the equipment. So it was very challenging to the expertise as well, because like you just need people who went to the school and they study something that you don't even know sometimes. And like, I need someone to help me figure it out this, and just you're trying to think who might be the right person, and you just don't get it. Like maybe a chemical engineering person, maybe a biotechnology person, maybe a microbiologist. Like those were the most critical that was the most critical challenge that we faced. But also having enough fund that can help you do your research, because these are the bacteria. We know there is a different types of bacteria, the one that are pathogenic, the one that produce toxins, the one that just change in the middle of the process, the one that are good bacteria. But how do you find them? It takes a very long time. It takes a lot of resources, including a lot of money, to be able to do this. But also, once you come up with this product, research and R&D remain a cornerstone of your process. You have to keep on doing the research and development. Maybe you'll figure it out, a different type of bacteria that can do more way better than the one that you have. And how do you continue to improve the efficiency of your process? Still needs money in order to continue doing this R&D. So I think resources mobilization was one of the critical challenge, and it's still a critical challenge because we just moved it from the university laboratory. We are now an independent. We have our small laboratory, but buying these lab equipment, doing the research, you need reagents are very expensive, equipment are very expensive, they're not locally produced, and most of them you have to import them from China or German or different part of the world. So resource mobilization is a critical challenge. But also another critical challenge was on the you have a new product that is nature based. It has a lot of science. You are introducing it into a market that people already have already using fish meal and soybean meal, and they believe in it. They know it's not toxic. You're telling them we have a bacteria protein. How could they trust you? The most thing that they have bacteria are doing are the things like causing diseases or doing harm to people. How do you start telling them even the yogurt that you're drinking has bacteria in it, or the bread that you're eating has yeast in it? Or how do you start convincing them? So introducing a new product into already existing markets is one of the biggest problem. But I thank God we figured it out a way. But also the last thing that I think was the challenge was the complexity of the regulations. It's something new. We are the first people doing it in Tanzania. You want to feed it to the fish. Fish are meant to be fed to human beings. So how do you reach out to the regulation agencies and convince them that this is the right? They had to look for the standard to do their test, it confirm that you can now sell it and all that. Yeah, so I think those were the most pressing challenge. But I thank God we also had the biggest achievement that helped us not to look onto the challenges as a challenge, but to look to the challenges as an opportunity or as a stepping stone for us to move from one step to another.
That really does show your spirit of entrepreneurism, and yeah, that's really amazing to hear just how many challenges you've faced and continue to face. But that drive that you have and that ambition to succeed and to make a positive impact. So yeah, really impressed by those responses there. I wonder if you could tell us as we get towards the back half of the podcast, what you have planned for the future. I'd love to learn what you have in the pipeline for the next year or 2 years.
Yes, thank you so much, Tim, for that question. In the next 12 to 24 months, we are looking into continuing improving the efficiency of our production process. We now see that our protein has a market and the demand is huge. So we want to scale it and reach more farmers and make more impact, not only to the lives of the farmers but also into the health of our ocean. So in the next few months, we are looking into working around the science behind it, improving the efficiency, and developing a more impactful solution. But also we're looking into engaging into more education opportunity around the impact of this alternative protein, and why is it important to the world, and why the farmers should consider it, and why the government should put some emphasis on the use of the alternative protein instead of the regular traditional fish meal protein. So, but we also be working on also be continue investing more of our energy into the research and development, because as I mentioned, that is our cornerstone. When you're doing anything science, the only thing that will help you move from one step to another is research. And as the scientists always say, science is all about facts. When you say this is possible, you have to prove it, and you can't prove it without doing the research. But also, we are looking forward into we have so many isolates, more than 200 bacterial isolates, and we continue doing the isolation. So we want to continue looking for a possibility to use these bacteria isolates to produce other valuable products that can help the farmers, such as different additives or growth hormones and etc. So we'll continue investing on the research and development to continue improving our product, making sure that we are using fewer resources to make a valuable product at a very affordable price for the farmers, and something that's still a better quality. But you're also introducing more new products to the market that will help our farmers.
Excellent. Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. And it's wonderful to know just how rigorous the science piece is, because you are trying to transform the way things are being done. And you've mentioned a number of times the challenges and the adversity that you face in trying to convince people. But like you said, science is about those facts. And if you have the facts, you can convince a lot of people and hopefully open up those opportunities for more government support as well, and lots more customers. So yeah, we're getting quite near to the end of the episode now, and one of the questions that I love hearing the responses to is around any key learnings from your journey as a founder, as a entrepreneur, that you would like to share with members of our audience who might be thinking about being a founder themselves. So yeah, some key learnings from your experience to share, Diana.
Thank you so much. That's a very nice question, Tim. I have a lot of key learnings from my journey, but if I just have a few seconds to talk with a startup founder trying to come up with a solution for our ocean, I would say I would encourage the founder to be very determined, very passionate, and very resilient with the solution that he or she is trying to bring to solve the existing challenges. Because this journey, as I mentioned, it's a very challenging journey, but it's rewarding. It has a lot of challenges from the regulation complexity to market entry. But if you're determined about your solution and your vision, and if you're very passionate enough to do it, the only last thing you need on your bucket is being resilient, so that you can overcome any challenge, and you can believe that in every street that is too dark, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, you just keep on going, you just keep on doing it, you'll always figure it out. Don't stop. Don't let anything stop you, or any challenge stop you. Just keep on moving and keep doing it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Determined, passionate, and resilient.
Yes.
And you really embody each of those, and that's very, very clear. Okay, wonderful. Did you have anything else to add to that
Thank you.
question?
If I have to add, I would say collaboration is an important key. It's hard to do it alone, and but if you are able to collaborate with the people around you, the partners, the global partners, the people within the industry, the people who have already been doing the same thing that you're doing, or have already been, all the people who have the same mission, then that way could be that can be one of the best way for you to do it. So as a founder, just remember collaboration is the key, but also attracting the right talent is the key. As you know, you don't have all the skills that are needed to run your business. For me, I'm a scientist. I don't have the financial skills. I don't have them. I'm not so much good in the marketing. I can do it, but I believe there is someone who went to school specifically for that, or there is someone who was just born to do it. So if you can be able to attract the right talent for your startup or for your company, then that's also the best way to do it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. If you try and do it all yourself, you'll quickly burn out and realize that there was another much better
Mhm.
way. So, really wonderful words of advice there for emerging entrepreneurs and perhaps scientists thinking about how they can turn their wonderful idea they've developed in the laboratory into a solution which is adopted at commercial scale. So, that brings us to the end of the questions that I had for you today, Diana. But over to you if there's anything else you wanted to share today that you haven't had the chance to talk to yet. Otherwise, you can tell us a little bit about how we can follow your journey and support you.
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much for inviting me to sit down with you in this podcast. I truly appreciate you giving me this opportunity. Uh, and if I have to share with you, you can follow me on LinkedIn, Diana Orembe, and also you can follow NoFeed on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram to keep up with everyday updates about our company and be ready to get our feed in your country in a near future. But also, if I have to ask you for a way that you can support us, if we currently we currently we have moved from the university and we now have an independent laboratory which we still struggling to mobilize all the needed resources for us to continue innovating and continue doing our research and bringing more solutions to our farmers and the community. So if you know anyone donating the laboratory equipment, or if there's a way that you can support us with the laboratory equipment, we would truly appreciate you so much. But we are also still fundraising for us to be able to scale our production. So if there is any way that you can support us, you're most welcome. So thank you so much, team, and I appreciate everything and all the moments.
And we appreciate you too. Planet Ocean thanks you so much for all your work and all your team. And we wish you a very successful future. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you so much.